Thank you for tuning in to Love in Your Hands with Cynthia Clark, the podcast about how to live life with love, passion, and purpose. This podcast is sponsored by loveinyourhands.com, the place to find long-lasting love through the merging of ancient science, modern technology, and quantum physics. Tired of superficial connections? Go to loveinyourhands.com and start your free Align to Your Soulmate 5-day challenge, where you could win a $20 Amazon gift card. Now here's your host, Cynthia Clark, certified palm reading consultant, love compatibility coach, author, and speaker. Hi there, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Cynthia Clark, and I'm always excited to connect with you and share topics that are going to help you personally and professionally. And today's topic is going to lead us into some really interesting conversation. I always like to start out the show with some information that you can learn from your palms, because your palms actually reflect literally everything about who you are. So when you're struggling with something, you can actually look to your palms and gain information and insights as to what that might be. When you are looking for direction, your hands are really great at that as well. So I just love looking at hands because they just have such a wealth of information for you to grow and learn from. So today I'd like to talk about the zone of boundaries, which is on your, what we call your Jupiter finger. It's your index finger. And the index finger represents how you look at yourself. Okay, so you can think of it like holding up your mirror and what do you see? And the phalanges each represent a different aspect of this. So the lower phalange we call the zone of boundaries. So when this section is large relative to the rest of the finger, that actually shows that you're pretty good at setting boundaries and you're not afraid to stand up for yourself. Like that's your natural energy. But if the section is small relative to the rest of the finger and the other phalanges, then this might be a little bit more of a challenge for you, and you may actually have to work at it a little bit more. So go ahead and take a look at your own zone of boundaries and see how, first of all, how big it is. And then the next thing you want to look for as well is, does this have any horizontal lines running through it? Okay, so horizontal lines in the fingers actually represent a blockage to that section. So for example, let's say you have a family boundary problem. Okay, which can, a lot of us face that one, right? That's gonna actually show up as little horizontal lines in the lower section of that phalange closest to the thumb. Okay, that's actually the family zone. Okay, so you can actually kind of gauge like, where is your boundary issue blocked, or where do you struggle? So your hands tell you so much information. It's just amazing. But that is today's lesson. By the way, if the lines are vertical, that shows more of a flow. So we prefer to see vertical lines in, especially in the fingers, rather than the horizontal lines. So I'm excited to bring in our very special guest today. We have Jen du Plessis, and she is the founder of Kinetic Spark Consulting, Black Fox Investments, and Valor Home Solutions. Since she is also the author of Launch, How to Take Your Business to New Heights, and hosts the top-rated podcast, Stop Talking, Take Action, and Get Results. I love that. That's awesome. So thank you so much for coming on the show today, Jen. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. I'm just tickled to be here and, excited for giving as much value as I possibly can in the time we have together.
Yay. So let's start out. I always like to start out with a story of, how did you first get into what you're doing, and what's your backstory?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you so much for asking. had well, I was in mortgage lending for 35 years. And about a year and a half ago, I transitioned from doing that full time into now speaking, coaching, and podcasting full time. Right. So that's all I'm doing is I'm doing a bunch of that now. And just following what then became my passion. It used to be my passion was in mortgages, but now, my passion is in helping other people with some of their boundaries. So that's why, we talked before we went online here is that this would be a great topic for me today. And I love that it's in your screen behind you. So, I talk about boundaries all the time in my practice. So that's a little bit about, where I was and where I'm at now. And, again, just very happy to be here to answer any questions you have.
Yeah, great. So let's talk about this concept of boundaries and how people struggle. So what have you found over the years that are the main problems with people actually taking ownership of their lives?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is that, so I'll speak to business right now, is that and we do this personally as well, but it's just bigger in business. We sabotage our family, our relationships, our health, obviously our health. I hear people all the time saying, I don't have time to work out. Our health, our spiritual, goals that we have, our cultural goals, being able to travel and go on vacation. So many people don't go on vacation. And I think, those are the biggest ones. And what we do is we sabotage those for the sake of our business. And we see it all the time. And so people, what they end up doing is they are so focused on building their business that they're squeezing in their family instead of let's focus on what you want in your life to fulfill you and set those boundaries so that then we can squeeze in your business. And it doesn't mean that your business would not be successful. It just means that we're going to be working very, very intentional in your business as opposed to allowing time to ooze, which is what people say they don't have enough of, when in fact we all have the same time. It's how we use it.
Right, exactly. So it seems like a lot of people just have maybe their priorities not right.
That's
And
correct.
yeah, so you help people to understand like how to change their priorities.
Yeah. And, it's funny that you mentioned that because I don't call it time management. I call it priority management all the time because, the premise really starts if we go back, on how this all kind of came about. The whole premise of my practice is that a life with values adds value everywhere in your life. So if you can, take a few minutes to identify what some of your core values are. And I can use another word for that too, which is, what makes you happy, what fulfills you, and what do you believe in, right? And so
Right.
if family is a core value, or if family makes you happy, or you believe in family, then I would ask you, why are you working till 11 o'clock at night? Right? So
Exactly.
is
Right.
it a core value, or you're just not setting the boundaries up for those core values and you're not making it a priority? So that's what I do, is help people recognize what those are. And then from there, we start building their business and their practice around it. And so that's where it starts. And so if I can tell a story about it, I'll tell you why this kind of came up. There's actually two breakthroughs that I had that brought this, and they were years apart. But as a business person, as an entrepreneur, I had sent out an email to all of my business partners and a few clients and said, if you could come up with 3 different words that describe me, what would that be? And this was my attempt at figuring out what my branding is, right?
Sure.
Instead of my branding be what I think it should be, I wanted it to be what people actually think of me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I got all kinds of beautiful accolades. You're giving and you're smart and all these great positive things. But in the midst of all that, I received a negative one from a guy by the name of Chip. And he said to me, not present. He said nice things, but then he said not present. And so, it was like putting a knife in my heart. And so I called him and said, hey, Chip, you said this. I'd really like to know and get some feedback. And basically what he was telling me is that I'm always around because I'm very active in the community and networking and, always trying to get business. But I was just skimming the surface, and all I could imagine was trying to skip a rock, you know? If I could
Mm.
just get to the other side as fast as I could without having to have any real deep conversations along the way, then that would be success for me, right? And especially
Mhm.
nowadays, with social media and the glorification of busyness, it's really sad. But I had to go through these different breakthroughs to really understand that. But people just think it's really cool to show that they're really, really busy. And I think now, but I had to learn it. I
Mhm.
think now that it's not about being busy, it's about as much depth as you can have. So by going wider and deeper, you have a richer life and you have richer relationships. So that was the first one, and I said, from there, I need to slow down so I can speed up instead of speeding up to slow down. And that
Mm.
was in my business. And then a couple years later, and you've heard this story as well, it wasn't the first time, it wouldn't be the last time because it's something I had to learn. But I was at dinner with my family, at a restaurant, and in typical fashion, I was outside walking that concrete balance beam, talking to a client. That balance beam where you pull up your car and you have the curb, right, and
Yes.
we walk and pace back and forth,
Uh-huh.
chatting with our client.
Yes.
And I looked into the window and saw my family creating memories without me. And I realized that I was sabotaging everything for business. What would happen if I could just turn that the other way? If I could not sabotage my business, of course, but if I could get everything I wanted out of life and then squeeze my business in. And it was just a matter of,
Mm.
again, being really, really intentional and very clear on what my message and my goals were rather than a number. I want to make X amount of dollars a year. So that's
Mhm.
really where it all started with me. And now I just have this compassion to, and drive to be able to share that with other people.
I love that story because it really reminds me of um, my first marriage when I used to work 7 days a week, just reading hands. And I would go to different metaphysical stores. I used to work out of Salt Lake City, Utah. And I didn't even take a day off. I worked 7 days a week. And it's like, wow, talk about not having any boundaries, to my business. And I fully immersed myself in my business, and I completely ignored my personal relationship. And I thought I was actually doing us both a service, because it's like, well, I'm bringing in this money and I'm working and I'm supporting, and it turns out that I was actually cutting off like our important quality time together.
Yeah. And I think
So
sometimes it's not even that. And I agree with you because I was doing that too. As I'm making money so that we can have things, but if you're not enjoying them, why have them? But there's also could be for someone an avoidance factor. Is and I have a client that does that works their butt off because it's a way to avoid going home and addressing the part that isn't right, the relationships, because it's gotten so far down the road. And perhaps what happened in your case too. It got so far down the road that you couldn't go backwards, with that first marriage. And I just didn't want that for myself, and I certainly didn't want that for my family. And hopefully others will recognize that, whether it's an avoidance factor or whether it's um, having to prove to people. In my case, because of my childhood, it was proving to people that I wasn't going to be like my mom and dad. I wasn't
mm,
going to be an alcoholic. I wasn't going to be poor. I wasn't going to smoke. All those things that I was told by my uncle that I was going to be worthless and I'd be just like them. And I said, well, I'll prove to you. So mine was about proving, not about avoidance. But eventually what happens is everything starts crumbling under you. And now sometimes it is avoidance because you don't want to actually go back and fix it, right? You're like, this is really going to be hard to fix. I'll just let it fall apart. But
right.
the question is, did you learn the lesson for the next marriage? Did you learn the lesson for the next job or the next season in your life?
Hmm. And yeah, hopefully I have, because yeah, I'm happily remarried now. And
Yeah. Well, and I
I,
wasn't asking you specifically, but
yeah, but yes,
yeah.
no, but yes,
Yeah.
now I know, just thinking about it though, it's like, yeah, this afternoon I'm going to take a hike with my
There you
husband.
go.
because, he was having a rough morning, and instead of saying, no, I got all this work to do, it's like, you know what? You could use a hike, and it's so
Yeah.
beautiful here in Sedona. So it's like, I try to be more flexible now with my schedule. And if I don't have like a solid appointment or something, it's like, yeah, I can take time out for him,
Right.
and I'm happy to do so. But sometimes we don't allow that.
Well, and
And
that's
we
the
just
thing if
get
it
stuck.
comes by, yeah, if it comes by happenstance, right? So you happen to not have a meeting, right? Or a
Right.
call, an appointment. And so,
Yes.
now it's a recognition of what do I do with my time, because now I happen to have time. I'm talking about forcing that time. This is what's so great about video is
Uh-huh.
I have a dog here who wants attention.
Oh, yeah.
You're gonna have to watch a video. If you're listening in, you're gonna have to watch a video, and you'll see her every once in a while. She got her nose up in the air and wants attention. Yeah, you do what you do. And by the way, it's not even my dog; I'm babysitting, so this is even worse. Because normally it wouldn't happen. Um, but
Oh,
yeah,
that's adorable.
it's about doing it intentionally and taking care of it first and saying, honey, one of the things that I want to do is I want to go on a hike with you every week because that's good for us to
Exactly.
breathe and it's good for us to touch the earth and it's good for us to chat about things, without
Yes.
phones and all that. Take them for safety,
Mhm.
but other than that,
Mhm.
and it's definitely it's prioritizing that and then working your
Mhm.
schedule around it rather than your schedule happened to be open and now and that was a priority because if you had a meeting this wouldn't be happening, right?
Right.
And so
Yes.
that's where the difference is what fulfills you,
Mhm.
because doing
Mhm.
activities for the sake of that is like eating soup with a fork, right? You're saying,
Right.
I'm so busy today but I don't know if I accomplished anything, and you don't feel full or
Mhm.
fulfilled, right? So I
Right.
want to do
Right.
the things that will fulfill me first and then carve out everything else around it, which means that when I'm working, it has to be intentional because I have these other obligations that are more important, right?
Mm.
And so if you've
Yeah.
ever been busy right before vacation, right?
Yes.
You get everything done and you're like, wow, look at this. And I don't even know if I can go on vacation because I'm so busy. Well, what
Uh-huh.
if you took I'm doing air quotes, air quote, a vacation every day? What if the
Yes.
things that fulfilled you could experience every single day?
Mm.
And
That feels good.
yeah, and so you get in, you work hard, work intentionally, you don't mess around with, other things that don't matter, and then you go do what you love to do and love life and experience life and still have that successful business because you most likely accomplish everything in the 5 hours that you could accomplish maybe in 2 or 3 days because you're so much more intentional about what you're doing.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of time that gets wasted just throughout your whole day. I mean,
Yeah.
I, you know, we don't even realize how much time we waste.
Yeah. Well, it is,
So,
and a lot of people are trying to find that balance, and I don't believe in that because if you think about a scale and when it's balanced, you're 50% on both sides, right? Right, on both
mhm,
sides. So
right.
I'm more of the opinion like get in, plop a bunch of stuff down on one side and just get it done, and then
Mm-hmm.
release it and then go spend time with your family or go work out or go read a book or go travel or do what you go
Hmm.
to a movie, whatever it is you love to do. Let's get you more of that. So we have to get in, get out, and it's really really laser focused work. It's not harder, it's just more focused, so it's done.
Mm-hmm.
You can go into the
Yeah.
office right early in the morning and get 5 hours of work done in 2 hours, but if you
Hmm.
go in when everybody else is there, it'll take you 8 hours to do something that should have only taken two.
Right.
The same premise.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. So, if I'm hearing you right, is it important for people first to determine what their values really are?
Yeah. That's the first step
Okay.
because every decision will be based on those values, and that's how you'll create those boundaries. So for example, one of mine, and I think we all have lots and lots of values, and they change, right? Because if you don't
Sure.
have kids, maybe your kids aren't, priority right now, and that type of thing. And my kids used to be a priority, but now they're all grown, so they're not as much of a priority for me.
Hmm.
They're still very important, but not on a daily basis. And So, one of my I use my top three to make all my decisions, but one of my decisions core values is stability, time stability, and financial stability. So if someone asks me to speak at a conference, right? And so, for example, my daughter, as you and I were just talking, she just had knee surgery yesterday. And had I been asked to speak at a conference or someplace on this day or the days following, it's so easy for us to say yes, 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 and then go to our family and say, I'm really, really sorry, but this came up and it's so important. And what is that saying?
It's
About
saying
your
that's
family.
important.
So because mine is stability, right? Stability of time and stability of finances, I had to look at that and say, not to say that that happened for her, but I look at that and I'm able to make a decision very, very quickly. Is this going to affect me in my time? Family happens to be another core value. So I'm looking and saying, will this affect my family and the time I want to spend with my family, or the time I want to be here for her? And then how does it affect my financial stability? Is it really that important, or could I be doing something else? So my decisions are more, it's so funny, it's like a double, right? My decisions are more decisive. I make more decisive decisions based on those core values, and I'm able to establish that boundary instantly. The answer is no, because my daughter has this. My mom had this quote that she always said, not that she lived it, but I'm trying. And that is that we flatter those we scarcely know. We please the fleeting guests, but we deal many a thoughtless blow to those we love the best. And we do that day in and day out. There'll be another recital. My daughter will have another recital. My son will have another basketball game. This client is more important. And I'm here to tell you that client is not. Being there for every
Right.
one of those things is really, it sets up a tattoo, for your children, right? A tattoo in their brain, or impression in their brain about who you really are, because it doesn't matter that you made that extra amount of money. What matters is that you were there supporting them, and it's not enough to be there, as I've learned through my little survey that I did. It's not enough to be at the game, but be on the phone and pacing on the chain link fence behind the baseball game, and covering the phone and saying, can you hold on a minute, and covering the phone and saying, way to go, honey, and then get back to the phone. I'm not present. So
Right.
I just think it's a really sad situation that everybody's in, and everyone's craving attention, and if you can't get it from your family, or you can't give it to your family, you'll go out and try to find it on social media.
Right. So yeah, so asking ourselves, how are we actually showing up in our lives?
Right.
And look at your schedule, and really look at it honestly, and then say, how much time do I spend with my spouse or my kids? How much time do I spend on the weekends, answering emails, or
Right.
doing all those little extra things that maybe they could wait until Monday.
Right.
It's that's a really great way to look at it.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for all this wonderful wisdom.
Oh,
I
sure.
so appreciate you. So what do you have to share as far as like how you work with people, or tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, thank you for asking, by the way. That's so nice of you. Yeah. So I am a lifestyle business coach, and that's how I tend to, run with that. So there's a lot of mindset work, right? Because we have to figure out what our core values are and what our priorities are. And then we work towards the more tactical piece in your business. So, for me, I'm really looking for people that are entrepreneurs that are struggling with this, that are working like dogs, that are, constantly working and feeling, they're not accomplishing everything, and they're starting to see things slip through the cracks. The family, the relationships, their health, their spirituality, their cultural experiences, all of those things are starting to slip through the cracks, and help them overcome that so that we can multiply their results in record time, right, while still having that commanding lifestyle. And so if that resonates with anyone, if anyone's saying, yeah, that's me, I'm sleepy, I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, I don't understand why I can't get ahead, or I have horrible relationships, or I'm so sick, or I ate that stupid fast food restaurant again because I'm not making time for myself. If that resonates with you, I'd love to help you get that all squared away and get your priorities in line so that you can live a really wonderful life with a successful business behind it. So that's what my coaching is all about, and I'd love to have a conversation with you if that's something, you know, if you're open to. I'd love to have that conversation to see if I can help you resolve that.
That's so beautiful. I love the concepts that you work through. It's just beautiful. So, okay, great. So how do people reach you and all that great information?
Well, the best way to find me is jenduplessis.com. That's my website. And through that, you can send an email to me and we can connect that way if you want to. But if you are interested in having a strategy session, you can text the word strategy to 66866. And if you're fortunate enough to be watching our video here, I actually have it in my name under here that so you can see what it is. But again, it's the word strategy to 66866, and you can schedule your own strategy session with me. And then I'd like to give everyone a free gift, which is my book, and that is at jenduplessis.com/launch. And that is my ebook. And if you'd like a copy of that to start thinking about how you can sort through your priorities to create a better day for you, that's a great way to get started as well. So both of those are great gifts for anybody who's interested.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much. And thanks everybody for tuning in today. Super excited to get out there and reprioritize and take a look at those values. So remember that you can live the life that you want regardless of your story. And so get out there and do it, and we'll catch you again really soon. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for listening to Love in Your Hands. Please rate, review, and subscribe to show your support. This podcast is sponsored by loveinyourhands.com, the place to find and keep long-lasting love. Start your free Soulmate Connection membership today using the most innovative and accurate algorithm to match you to potential partners, all at loveinyourhands.com.